In this lesson, we will talk about two invalid sampling techniques. Those two sampling techniques are the voluntary sample and the convenience sample. Remember, the goal of sampling is to get a representative sample from the population of interest. If the sample is not representative of the entire population, you have a bad sample. It is a biased sample. So now let's consider the voluntary sample. What is a voluntary sample? A voluntary sample is one which consists of the individuals that make up the sample are in the sample because they volunteer to be part of the sample. Let's give you an example. Suppose in the city you live, the mayor just passed new crime-fighting legislation, and we want to know how people in the city feel about that new legislation. There is a local radio station discussing the new legislation, and they decide to conduct a survey. They say, please call in and let us know whether you favor the new legislation or you do not favor the legislation. And they open up their phone lines and they survey 300 people from the city, and they report the results. X percentage of people favor the legislation, Y percentage of people do not favor it. The people that responded to that question and called in are part of the sample because they volunteered to be in the sample. That is a voluntary sample. If the people that called in to participate in the sample are different than and not representative of everyone who lives in the city, then you have a bad sample. It is a biased sample. A convenience sample is just one that is easy to get. Consider the following scenario. Suppose we're curious about the spending habits of the people in our community. We decide, well, let's go to the local mall and we'll take a sample of people at the local mall. We stand by the door, the entrance to the mall, and the first 100 people that come in the door, we stop and we ask them a few questions about their spending habits. This is a convenience sample because it was easy to get. As people came in the door, we stopped them, we asked their question, they were part of the sample. But there was no randomness involved in selecting those individuals. If those 100 people that were stopped and participated in the sample and were part of the sample are different than the rest of the community, then we do not have a good sample. We have a biased sample. The reason these two sampling techniques are invalid is because there is no randomness involved in selecting the individuals to go into the sample. So please be wary of results when the sample consists of a voluntary sample or a convenience sample.